My RASICT mother-in-law dyed and straightened my mixed daughter's hair, so I blasted her on social media. When I left, I was explaining how my mother-in-law had dyed and straightened my 1-year-old daughter's hair behind my back while my husband and I were out one day. I was horrified and my heart was breaking for what my baby had been put through, and on top of everything it brought such an ugly side of my husband that I had never seen before. I yelled at my mother-in-law for what she had done and posted on a curly hair Facebook group about repair tips, and my husband indeed ended up getting upset at me for both things. I couldn't believe my daughter was going through this and I didn't even have the support of my husband. I was distant for a couple of days, but things blew up after I decided to take my daughter to the doctor to get her checked out. As I mentioned in my previous post, my mother-in-law had keratin treated my daughter's hair. From what I understood after researching it, it was a type of harsh chemical treatment to permanently straighten hair. After I learned this, I took my daughter in to get checked out since she was practically still a baby who had received an adult chemical treatment. I wanted to break down right there in the office when the doctor inspected my daughter and found mild chemical burns on her scalp. I thought things couldn't get worse, but he then explained to me that she would need antibiotics as well as a topical ointment, and it was in my daughter's best interest for her to get a short haircut so the ointment could reach her scalp more effectively. I was in tears, but I knew I needed to do what was best for my baby after she had been put through so much. I took her to get her hair cut very short after the doctor's, and when I got home that night I sat my husband down again and told her about my daughter's injuries, as well as my concerns about his lack of reaction. The conversation ended up turning unpleasant very quickly when my husband continued to defend his mom, even after I told him about our baby's burns. All he said was that his mom was old and just trying to bond with her granddaughter. I really started to lose it, and eventually, I started raising my voice asking my husband how he could be so careless towards his own family. He threw it back in my face and said that I was being careless to his family. Then he accidentally let it slip that his mom had actually asked him about treating my daughter's hair before we left that day, and he neglected to tell me. He admitted that his mom mentioned dyeing and straightening my daughter's hair and my husband had told her to do whatever she wanted. He yelled at me and asked me how the F was he supposed to know what the hell keratin was. This was how I found out my daughter never went to a salon. My mother-in-law had done the keratin treatment at her house, so no wonder she had injured my daughter in the process. I broke down. I saw no solution or compromise in the conversation, and it just felt like my husband was hell-bent on making me feel crazy. He simply refused to admit that he screwed up, and it led to our child being physically harmed. I took my daughter to my parents' house that night, and I've been here for a few days since the night of the fight. My husband has been texting me since I left. At first the messages were apologetic and he just kept pleading with me to come home. But then soon turned nasty and he kept accusing me of overreacting and acting out of line. He said I was the only one making issues and that my daughter's burns were already being treated and her hair was already gone, so there was no point in me still being angry. I'm broken. I can barely look at my daughter because I feel so hurt knowing how I let her down, and I don't see how I could repair my marriage after something like this.